Welcome to Bloomberg Technology. I'm Emily Chang in San Francisco. Tech stocks selling off and stocks falling across the board. Fed Chair Jay Powell saying he's not sure if the economic recovery will continue as quickly as expected. Giants like Apple and Facebook sliding. Facebook facing yet another widespread boycott of its services, including celebrities like Kim Kardashian West and Leonardo DiCaprio. Still, newly public tech companies roaring out of the gate, software company Snowflake and developer favorite JFrog closing with huge gains. Both CEOs will join us later this hour. This, as President Trump is expected to give a press conference any moment now at the White House. We're going to bring you headlines from that event with more news tumbling out by the minute on Oracle's bid for TikTok, which still needs the president's stamp of approval. Just moments ago, Bloomberg learned the following about the terms of the deal: that Oracle would handle all of TikTok's U.S. user data in this scenario and oversee all of TikTok's U.S. technical operations. Oracle would be able to check source code to prevent backdoors. TikTok's U.S. board would be approved by the U.S. government, and Oracle would create, they say, some 20,000 new jobs through TikTok's operations. Joining us to talk about how it all impacted the markets, we've got Bloomberg's Sarah Ponczek with us. Let's start, Sarah, with that Fed decision and how it just rippled across the markets today.
Right. We have a lot of moving parts, but when it comes down to the Fed, we officially have what's called outcome-based forward guidance, or as some call it, enhanced forward guidance. So really what the highlights were that, one, the Fed does not expect to raise interest rates until 2023. So quite a while, 3 years away. At the same time, as it relates to that forward guidance, they will not raise interest rates until inflation does meet that 2% target on an average basis, and we see maximum employment. As you did mention, Chair Powell did say that the recovery has been faster than he expected. Downside risks still are hanging around. However, when I spoke with investors about maybe what bugged the markets, what sent stocks lower, you see the S&P ending down about 0.5% after gaining at 1.8% or so. It was about quantitative easing, that there were no further promises on that end. So we do see the short end of the bond market anchored more than the long end. That was reflected as well. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index, though, not really doing much of anything, ending flat on the day or so.
Meantime, the market seemed to go in whatever direction tech is going. We saw Apple fall on the back of its big product unveiling yesterday. Facebook falling as well. You know, another boycott, a number of additional celebrities joining in.
That's absolutely right. The past 2 days, we saw tech lead the market lower. The past 2 days, we saw tech lead the market higher. And today, we saw tech lead the market lower. And one way you can view this is by comparing the performance of the S&P 500 with that of its equal weight counterpart. And what you see there is that if you actually take a benchmark and give every single one of its weightings the same weight, rather than the S&P, which is market cap weighted, so Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, they all make up a big proportion of the index. The equal weight index was actually higher by more than 0.5% today. But you look at the NASDAQ, which is of course very top heavy with tech, down 1.7%. As you mentioned, Facebook leading the way down, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. I also want to mention that there has only been 1 day this entire month that the NASDAQ has not moved more than 1%. So we are seeing very large moves. Today, though, we did see the 50-day moving average save us once again. We fell right to it. This is a battle line that has really been in contention all month long. But once again, the NASDAQ did close above it, and it at least provided support today.
All right, Sarah Ponczek, thank you so much for that rundown. I do want to get to the TikTok story now. We told you just moments ago more we are learning about Oracle's proposal to buy a stake in TikTok and address U.S. national security concerns at the same time. Again, the president still has to approve the deal. Still on the table, no final agreement yet. According to people familiar with the matter, Oracle would handle all of TikTok's user data and oversee all of TikTok's U.S. technical operations, handle data in the U.S. That is. I want to bring in Bloomberg's Shelley Banjo, who has broken new headlines on this story. Shelley, you got your eyes on the actual terms of the deal and the detail that's in the fine print in terms of what exactly it means for Oracle to be a technology partner to TikTok. What's in the fine print?
Right. So we still don't know what money is changing hands, but what we do know is the answer to this very elusive question, which is what the heck does trusted technology partner mean? And so what the details of that means is that Oracle would get full access to TikTok source code and updates to make sure that there was, no kind of backdoors used by ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent, to access any of the data on the video sharing app. And also they're going to, have full visibility into the engineering of what's going on with the product and what any changes that are made. In addition to that, we found out that this would also require creating a new independent board for oversight that would be approved by the U.S. government official, and also bringing in a third-party auditor who would be regularly reporting to the U.S. government.
So talk to us about what visibility ByteDance would have into the data, because as you're reporting, ByteDance would still have some visibility into the algorithms.
That's right. So everything that TikTok is built upon, all the technology, code, algorithms, whatever you want to call it, ByteDance created that over many, many years of data and training and technical know-how. And so they're not going to recreate that. They're not recreating the app or anything like that. And so ByteDance will still have visibility into that. It's just that if ByteDance decides somehow that it's going to make some sort of change, that Oracle would be able to spot that. And the idea is that if there is any kind of wrongdoing now or in the future, that Oracle would be able to spot that the board that reports to the U.S. government would be able to have visibility into that, and anything like that could be addressed.
So what is the very latest on the discussions? We know that we're waiting for the recommendation to the president. We know that we're still waiting for the president to give his stamp of approval or not. He has until September 20th. At what stage are we in these reviews, if you will?
Yeah, there are many different avenues that this could take depending on, at the end of the day, what President Trump decides. I mean, right now, the CFIUS members are still meeting. That's all sorts of people from Commerce Department, Treasury Department, State Department, and all of these folks are weighing in as to whether or not they think this proposal is going to pass muster. Some of them early on have flagged that as long as ByteDance remains majority owned by that as long as TikTok remains majority owned by ByteDance, that they're not going to feel comfortable that it's going to really satisfy national security concerns. You also saw a whole bunch of Republican senators come out this morning with a letter to Donald Trump saying the same thing, that as long as this isn't a full sale, which is what Donald Trump had suggested in the first place, that they're not on board with it. But at the same time, there's a number of people on CFIUS, including Steve Mnuchin and others, who have been pushing this deal and kind of okay with the way that TikTok has decided to address security concerns. So there's still going to be a lot of conversations, and where they're going to end up, we're not sure yet.
Right. And we also know that President Trump has voiced his approval of Oracle, and founder Larry Ellison, as recently as yesterday. Ellison, a big fundraiser for the president. So there certainly could be some politics at play as well. Bloomberg Shelley Banjo, thank you so much for your reporting. We'll stay tuned for more headlines as you continue to follow this story. Now, coming up, a record-breaking day today for Snowflake as the Warren Buffett-backed software darling makes its New York Stock Exchange debut. We're going to talk to the chair and CEO, Frank Slootman, coming up. This is Bloomberg. Snowflake out with its IPO today, raising $3.4 billion and setting a record for the largest U.S. software deal ever. Shares more than doubling, securing fortunes for employees and some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. Chair and CEO Frank Slootman has said he hopes investors will hold on for 5 or 10 more years. Frank joins me now with more. So, Frank, obviously a huge day for you. Congratulations. What's your take on how this went down, given that we are in the middle of a pandemic, lots of economic uncertainty? I'm sure it was a difficult decision trying to figure out how and when to do this.
Well, we're thrilled with the reception. We really started assembling our institutional ownership, a little bit over a year ago. So this is really not something of the last couple of weeks. And we had people, buy into a tender offer we did earlier, January, February timeframe. So Snowflake is really a heavily vetted company. So by the time we got to the IPO, there was really high conviction into buying into the offering. So we're thrilled with the way things have gone this week.
So talk about conviction. Shares more than doubling. You priced at $120 a share, closed at $253. That said, you left a lot of money on the table. I mean, do you have any concerns that you've given the bankers a little too much here?
Well, the assumption is always that, we could have sold the entire offering at the number that we closed at. And obviously, there's such a thing as a demand curve. There's always investors that are, willing to, buy some number of shares at higher prices. But, as you know, the IPO is a price discovery process, and we were after a very specific set of institutional investors, people that can hold multi-billion-dollar positions that are willing to hold down for 5 to 10 years, and also people that don't chase momentum either up or down. So that's really how we landed at our price. It's not unusual for a price to get chased up by momentum players in retail and so on. So there's a lot of noise to it. So the idea that we could have sold the whole thing at the price that we closed at, I don't think is reasonable. So.
That said, is there a lesson here for some of the other companies looking to go out of the gate? We've got huge public debuts expected for, some other huge companies in Silicon Valley, Airbnb, Palantir. Any advice?
It's hard for people to price a high growth asset because high growth asset is how fast is it going to grow into its valuation, right? So you need to really do a lot of work with investors. Because they have to make a long-term bet, right? This is not a 12-month deal. People are buying in for 3, 5, 7 years, and they need to understand the story extremely well to be able to do that and have the conviction. I mean, one of the reasons, why the stock ran up and we were really delayed in trading is because we just had no sellers. People were just hanging on for dear life. So that sort of slowed things down a bit today.
Now, investors are seeing an opportunity here to disrupt Amazon because what you offer, it's basically your own version of a data warehouse. Amazon does have a similar product. What do you have on them?
Well, what we have on the whole industry is really a product that was built from the ground up, clean sheet of paper, by a group of people who were some of the world's greatest database technology architects, people that really understand the technology really well. Also, what it was lacking all this time. And, when it gets completely redesigned, reimagined for cloud scale computing, you end up with a completely different product architecturally. And something that innovates on multiple vectors at once. And you compare that to what other people are offering out there. They're all trying to carry legacy architectures, software designed for machine computing to the cloud, and they find out that they really can't take advantage of cloud scale, and that's sort of what you see going on. I mean, Snowflake is a deceptive product because it's incredibly powerful given the underlying platform, which is the public cloud. We only run on the public cloud, and we have zero legacy in terms of older machine architectures.
Now, Iconic is one of your biggest investors. Some of that firm's clients include Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey. Also, Berkshire Hathaway made a cool $1 billion on your public offering, despite the fact that Warren Buffett doesn't love investing in newly public companies, let alone tech companies. Has Buffett been at all influential, as the company has evolved? Has he had any impact on you?
Well, one of the reasons we started talking to the insurance side of Berkshire, well over a year ago, and they became more interested as the prospect of an IPO came closer for us as a company, the association and having Berkshire invested the offering really lended a lot of credibility to Snowflake. And, we're a company that competes with the largest companies in the world. I mean, you mentioned Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and so on. And we also sell to the largest companies in the world. So for us to raise our stature with the likes of Berkshire Hathaway, as well as Salesforce, of course, is incredibly helpful. So, today was a pretty good shot in the arm in terms of advancing, our public profile in the marketplace.
Now, meantime, you are looking ahead to a very uncertain economic environment, an uncertain political environment. We've got what's going on between the United States and China. We've got a presidential election. How do you plan ahead with all of this uncertainty? What is your outlook for demand in the midst of a pandemic?
Ironically, I would say that the first half of the year was far more uncertain and unsettling, if you will, for our industry than the second half. The second half has really firmed up. And because of the types of things that we do, which is really, mass data analytics and data platforms, this is the sort of thing that enterprises need to figure out what's going on in the world. This is how they parse the reality. This is how they act on it. So if anything, it's been a catalyst for a lot of enterprises to really double down on analytics and data sciences and so on. So our business, has not dropped off. It's really ahead of where our pre-pandemic forecasts were. So obviously, we all had to vacate our offices and operate remotely, but we've gotten used to that as well, and seems to be working okay.
All right. Frank Slootman on a big day for Snowflake. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've had a busy day. You're probably a little tired. Appreciate you joining us. We'll continue to follow the company's story. The president, meantime, has just walked out at the White House. Let's take a listen in. He's been talking about Hurricane Sally.
And we've certainly had plenty. Even since I've been here, we've had a lot of them. So that's in good shape, Hurricane Sally. We're going to talk about Big Ten football, but that's a terrific thing. We'll discuss that at the end. I just want to go into the vaccine distribution. Today, my administration released our detailed national vaccine distribution plan, and that includes a plan to ensure that we swiftly deliver the vaccine directly to America's senior citizens in nursing homes, and it's all set. We have our military lined up. Everybody's lined up. And we think that's going to go very nicely. We're very close to that vaccine, as you know, and I think closer than most people want to say, or certainly closer than most people understand. To get the vaccine into the hands of American people, we're fully mobilizing the awesome power of American industry and also our military. This is the largest, fastest, and most advanced vaccine distribution effort in American history by far. I was reading where Biden was saying that, he's going to have a plan. They did so bad on swine flu, you wouldn't even believe it. Take a look at their record on swine flu. In fact, the person that headed it up said it was a total disaster. We're on track to deliver and distribute the vaccine in a very, very safe and effective manner. We think we can start sometime in October. So as soon as it is announced, we'll be able to start. That'll be from mid-October on. Maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll be all set. So as soon as it's given the go-ahead, they're doing trials, as you know, and as soon as it's given the go-ahead, we will get it out, defeat the virus. We've manufactured all of the necessary supplies so that as soon as the FDA approves the vaccine, and as you know, we're very close to that, we'll be able to distribute at least 100 million vaccine doses by the end of 2020, and a large number much sooner than that. I'm calling on Biden to stop promoting his anti-vaccine theories, because all they're doing is hurting the importance of what we're doing. And I know that if they were in this position, they'd be saying how wonderful it is. They're recklessly endangering lives. You can't do that. And again, this is really a case that they're only talking, just started talking a little bit negatively, and that's only because they know we have it, or we will soon have it. And the answer to that is very soon. The case updates, it's very interesting to see what's happening because the test positivity rate is down among all age groups and has fallen below 5% for the first time since this whole nightmare of the China virus began. So it's fallen below 5%. The number of hospitalized patients has decreased by 43% from mid-July, 43%. Nationally, people sick with the China virus now make up only 1.5% of all emergency room visits. So we're down to the lowest number we've had. 1.5% of emergency room visits is for the China virus. And thanks to our life-saving therapies and treatments, I think this is the best of all in terms of our great percentages and all the progress we've made. The fatality rate has fallen 85% since April, 85% fatality rate. If you look at what we've done and all of the lives that we've saved, and I'm going to ask that a graph be put up, and now it's up. This was right at the beginning. This was our prediction that if we do a really good job, we'll be at about 100,000 to 240,000 deaths, and we're below that substantially, and we'll see where it comes out. But that would be if we did the good job. If the not-so-good job was done, you'd be between 1.5 million. I remember these numbers so well, and 2.2 million. That's quite a difference. So we're down in this territory, and that's despite the fact that the blue states had tremendous death rates. If you take the blue states out, we're at a level that I don't think anybody in the world would be at. We're really at a very low level, but some of the states, they were blue states and blue state managed. And by the way, we would recommend they open up their states. I think it's very important that they open up their states because if you look at certain of them, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, we have to get those states open. It's hurting people. It's hurting people far more than the disease itself. So we would recommend that you open them, let your people have freedom. And it's unfair to your people to keep them closed at this stage. We know the vaccine. We know the vaccines are coming, but we know the problem. We understand who the vulnerable are, which is primarily people with medical problems, but in particular, people with medical problems that are older. So open up your states. To facilitate routine testing of the nursing home residents and staff, we've delivered rapid testing devices to all 13,850 certified nursing homes nationwide. So you have 13,850 certified nursing homes nationwide, and they are being facilitated in terms of testing and testing apparatus. Everything is there. We also have new tests coming, and we have one in particular that I think I showed last night, which is literally 2 pieces of very fine cardboard. It's actually a lot of delicate things going on inside that cardboard, but it's an incredible test. It's very quick, it's very accurate, and moves along rapidly. We've bought millions of those tests, and they're going to be distributed rapidly. So the testing process, where there's nobody in the world that has a testing process like ours, in addition to being number one, number two, which is India, is close to 50 million tests behind us, I believe, Scott. 50 million. They have 1.5 billion people. Tomorrow, Vice President Pence will be announcing the findings of the Nursing Home Commission to continue protecting our most vulnerable, which is our senior citizens, and we're going to take good care of them. I want to congratulate Big Ten football. It's back. And I want to, in particular, I've been dealing with him, thank Commissioner Kevin Warren for the great job he did. We've been working with him for a while. There was a rumor being spread that I didn't want football back, and it was just the opposite. That was another disinformation rumor put out by the Biden campaign, and it was just the opposite, but it really spurred me into action. I called the commissioner a couple of weeks ago, and we started really putting a lot of pressure on, frankly, because there was no reason for it not to come back. And Kevin went in and worked very hard. I want to thank the players, the coaches for working along, and they wanted it very badly. The players and coaches in particular, the parents also. And Big Ten football just announced, as you know, that their schedule, they announced a schedule, and it's going to be great, important to have. I want to recommend that the Pac-12 also get going because there's no reason why Pac-12 shouldn't be playing now. And perhaps they'll start with, at least partially, I had recommended today to Kevin and others that maybe you want to start off with 25% of the stadium, or maybe you want to start off with empty. I don't know. I think they could have fans go, frankly, but they want to be careful. They want to be safe, and they will be safe. They've got a very good testing process for the players, coaches, families, etc. And so I just want to congratulate Big Ten. It's going to be great. We're going to love watching that. And again, I want to recommend Pac-12. You're the only one now. Open up, Pac-12. Get going. Said the same thing to Big Ten, and they did. And now I'm saying it to Pac-12. You have time. You really have time right now. Get going. I want to thank all of those wonderful coaches, some of whom I spoke with. And we went through a process over the last couple of weeks. And I want to thank Congressman Anthony Gonzalez of Ohio, who, as you know, was a great football player. Some people know that. I know that. But Anthony was a great player, great receiver, went to the NFL. Also, I want to thank Tim Pataki of my staff. He worked very hard on this, and he was up day and night working with Kevin and everybody else. So I want to thank Tim Pataki. Great job. So Big Ten is back, and it's going to have hopefully a great season. The census recently found that in the second quarter of 2020, Hispanic Americans' home ownership reached a record all-time high. That's all-time in the history of our country. Yesterday, the census reported that median income for Americans increased by an unprecedented $4,400 last year to a record of $68,700. In 2019, income
President Trump there
inequality
continuing
fell
to make
for the
remarks
second straight
at the
year.
White House, talking a lot about football, also referencing some progress on vaccines that he believes has happened. He says a vaccine could be distributed by mid-October. Of course, we've heard from scientists and other experts it could be much later than that. He also talked a bit about Hurricane Sally, saying it looks like it will do less damage than expected. We're going to continue to listen in to these remarks by the president, and we'll bring you more highlights as we have them. I do now want to turn to Facebook. Today, celebrities one by one announced they're joining a protest against Instagram's parent company, Facebook, and its handling of misinformation and hate. This after weeks after many Instagram users participated in Blackout Tuesday, going dark on social media in a similar show of solidarity. To discuss today's freeze and the impact of hate speech on social media, we're joined by one of the organizers of the event, Color of Change. Arisha Hatz is the organization's vice president and joins me now. Arisha, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you back here on the show. So obviously you've got some even bigger names who are part of the Stop Hate for Profit campaign. You've got Kim Kardashian West saying she's not using Facebook or Instagram, and it's a huge lifeline for her. You know, social media is a big part of some of these celebrities' brands. What's your take on these celebrities getting on board?
Well, we're extremely happy that so many folks, so many big name celebrities have agreed to join us this week in our week of action, supporting the Stop Hate for Profit Coalition. Today, we've asked folks to freeze posting on Instagram, but they're also going to be, for the rest of the week, sort of talking about all the ways in which they believe that Facebook should be held more accountable. They're pushing back against the way in which the platform profits from racism, hate, and misinformation.
That said, it's only one day. I mean, if they really wanted to make a statement, wouldn't they wait it out longer? I mean, would you like to see that?
Well, we're only asking for folks to participate for the week. These celebrities have hundreds of millions of followers across the world, and we believe that it gives the opportunity for us as a coalition to continue to be in conversation with Facebook, to continue to press our concerns, and to continue to bring more people into our movement. Facebook is a huge company, one of the most powerful companies in the history of the world. And so its policies and practices won't be changed overnight. But our hope is that through their participation, through Michael B. Jordan and Kim Kardashian and so many others taking a stand this week, that they'll begin to continue to hear the message that we're sending.
what else do you want Facebook to do? I mean, obviously, the campaign has had a big impact. You saw a lot of advertisers leave the service. Has Facebook made any changes in the last few weeks that you think are a sign of real progress, or is it more of the same?
We've definitely seen progress since we first launched an ad boycott, a one-month ad boycott in July. Facebook agreed to some demands that we've been making at Color of Change for years, including installing a permanent civil rights infrastructure, placing more capacity on who's looking at algorithms and those sorts of things. But there's still obviously a lot more work to do. We're still concerned that hate groups and militias are able to organize on their platform. We know that these types of organizing has real world impacts for Black people, as we saw in Kenosha. A lot of Facebook has a duty and a responsibility to protect the safety of its users. And by allowing these sorts of hate groups to continue to organize on their platforms, they're failing in that mission.
Now, Facebook does say that a number of advertisers who left in July are coming back to the platform. Take a listen to this from Nicola Mendelsohn, a Facebook vice president over in Europe.
A lot of the advertisers have come back, and they've come back because they can see the efforts that we've been making, and also the fact that we're coming together, taking their feedback, really listening.
Would you like to see advertisers wait this out longer? I mean, is Facebook really going to feel the pain if advertisers are already coming back?
Again, we've asked for folks to take the month of July off to give us room to push forward many of these demands. The reality is Facebook has a lot of money, and there's very little that we can do to actually dent their profit margin. But this shouldn't even be about money. It should be about right versus wrong. And right now we're in a global conversation about white supremacy. We're in a global conversation about the broader movement for Black lives. And we're in a global conversation about how social media platforms, foreign governments, and domestic actors are working to undermine our democracy. And these are the places that we really want Facebook to step up. It shouldn't be about taking money out of their pockets.
All right. Arisha Hatch, Vice President of Color of Change, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and update on the progress of the campaign. We'll continue to follow it. Moving on now to the topic of working from home. The pandemic has caused millions around the world to work remotely. On the latest episode of The David Rubenstein Show, Peer-to-Peer Conversations, Alphabet CFO Ruth Porat spoke with Carlyle Group co-founder David Rubenstein about how this shift in work has impacted Alphabet's thousands of employees.
When you started working remotely, did you ever worry it would be a problem because you have all these people, but you're technically very savvy?
So when we started the move to work from home, it did seem daunting. I'm responsible for our crisis response and put together a really strong governance around how do we get people to move from home with a global team and then a regional team, and we were in sync daily. That worked really well. What we were most concerned about was what would be the impact on productivity and wellness. Our chief medical officer, very early in the crisis, said that more people would be affected by mental health issues than actually the physical disease itself. So we focused on those two, and I think that was really important. The other thing is Google is really about our people and the ability to deliver for users and communities because of our compute capacity. And one of the things we didn't have to worry about was our ability to really deal with the surge in online activity. And that was because of all of the investments over many years and all of the testing for what could happen in a sort of crisis scenario. And I think it's an important point because you can't solve the risk management issue in the middle of a crisis. You obviously need to solve it ahead of time, and that worked.
So many companies are saying, well, now that I've learned that my people can work from home, maybe I don't need all these people either in the office or I don't need all these people. Is that your view? You don't need all the people you have, or you may not need them all in the office?
We believe that when people are together, that's a critical element for innovation. Collaboration helps support innovation. It's collaboration within teams, and it's collaboration across teams. It's collaboration and it's serendipity. So we do look forward to having people back in the office. What we're looking at is the productivity lift you get if people have the ability to work from home some days, be in the office, in particular when the rest of their team or more broadly teams are in the office. And if you can save people commute time, you have better access to talent because you're solving what people want in their personal life, it's actually going to result in a better outcome. What that means for real estate, we're still figuring out.
Early on, Google was well known for, among other things, you got free food. What about if you're working at home? Do you give them free food showing up by delivery somehow, or how do they compensate for that?
So we're not doing that, but a lot of people focus on food when really what we are trying to create, have been trying to create, is this fun, quirky, magical campus. And so it's about more than just the free food, it's the experience on campus. So what we did when we moved everybody to home is we moved a lot of these sort of connecting the community to a virtual delivery. And so for food, as an example, you can do a one-on-one session with a chef, you can do a cooking class. We took our fitness classes and moved them to virtual fitness classes, and even some sort of goofy Google-style ones like yoga with your dog.
Alphabet CFO Ruth Porat there speaking with Carlyle Group co-founder David Rubenstein on the David Rubenstein Show, peer-to-peer conversations. You can catch the full interview tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, 7 p.m. in London and Hong Kong. All right, well, Bloomberg has learned that Amazon is planning to open 1,000 small shipping hubs in cities and suburbs all over the U.S. The move comes as the e-commerce giant seeks to compete with Walmart and Target on same-day deliveries. For more, I want to bring in Bloomberg Spencer Soper, who covers the company for us. Amazon, Spencer, had a major warehouse expansion across the country about a decade ago. How is this different?
Yeah, so if we think about the previous expansions, it was largely, on the far fringes of population centers, maybe an hour or two drive outside of town, and these large 1 million square foot warehouses. And what we're seeing now is Amazon marching closer to people, closer to homes, and closer to traditional real estate, in smaller facilities that are really just kind of holding stations for the packages and big, huge parking lots for the vans that deliver them.
What do these places typically look like, and where are they usually located? Yeah,
so you figure their previous, their fulfillment centers are about 1 million square feet warehouses. Now the new things that Amazon is actually building, specifically for this, are maybe about a couple 100,000 square feet, so about a quarter of the size. And then it's going to have a very large parking area. So the ratio of parking lot to building is going to be a little out of whack, just simply because so much of it is delivery vehicles. They need to get all these vans in. They need to have parking for the employees who drive the vans, and then they have to have room for these flex drivers who are almost like Uber drivers, except they're delivering Amazon packages in their own vehicles rather than people. They have to have room for them too. So a lot of it is simply just a huge, huge parking and vehicle staging area.
Now, I've noticed Amazon delivery times varying widely. I mean, you can't necessarily guarantee that 2-day delivery. A lot of products are taking longer than that. Sometimes it gets faster, sometimes it slows down. I don't really know why, but can Amazon really offer and deliver on same-day delivery at this moment, given all of the logistical challenges we're facing across the country at this time?
Yeah, it's always a question of when. That's certainly the goal, and you have a very good point on how delivery is sporadic. A lot of that is depending on what the inventory is. So Amazon has this huge category of inventory, hundreds of millions of products, and it can't possibly do all of that in a day or same day. What it's going to do is selectively look for the fastest moving items, the most common items that people are ordering frequently, and focus on those to make same-day delivery from Amazon compatible or better than the inventory you would find in a nearby Target or Walmart or other brick and mortar store. So yes, it's going to be tiered in that fashion. Some stuff will be ready immediately, and some stuff you'll have to wait a little bit longer for.
All right. Thanks for keeping us updated on this warehouse expansion. Spencer Soper on the Amazon beat for us. Coming up, we're going to talk to another tech company that just went public today. Shlomi Ben-Haim, CEO and co-founder of JFrog, will be joining us next. This is Bloomberg. Some breaking news. We've been listening into the president's press conference happening right now at the White House. He just said that he's going to be briefed on the TikTok deal tomorrow morning. He's not prepared to sign off on anything yet. As we know, multiple different government entities have been reviewing Oracle's proposal to buy a stake of TikTok and serve as TikTok US's quote-unquote trusted technology partner. The president saying he's not prepared to sign off on anything until he gets details. And again, he's going to be briefed on it tomorrow morning. So we will, of course, be following that. The deal does need the president's approval by September 20th. Meantime, another name in our crowded week of tech IPOs, JFrog, which also made its debut on the NASDAQ today. The company makes tools for software developers and raised more than $500 million in the IPO. Shares jumping as high as 75% in initial trading. We are joined now by CEO and co-founder of JFrog, Shlomi Ben-Haim. Shlomi, thank you so much for taking the time on a busy day. Congratulations. Obviously, a strong debut. Shares closing about 50% above the initial offering price. I spoke with Frank Slootman of Snowflake earlier. You know, on the one hand, that kind of uplift is great. On the other hand, you're leaving money on the table. What's your take on the pricing? Are you happy with the banker's decision here?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, what a day. We are very, very excited. With regard to the pricing, you know, we were very focused, especially in the past 4 months, in understanding what is happening during COVID, whatever happening with the IPO and the first day of trading. And we built a model to get JFrog to the right price as we go out. And from that point on, we trust the market to stabilize the price, and it would be according to our performance. I'm sure that we will do great.
You chose a direct listing versus an IPO. Why in this environment?
Well, from day one, JFrog was established in 2008. That was another recession that we've been through. We are doing what is right for the business. We build a very, very efficient business, not just in terms of the technology and kind of setting the standard in the world of DevOps, but also in terms of scaling the business, making sure that it's efficient, leading with a clear path to profitability. And when we felt that the market is ready, our product are leading and setting the standard, and it is the right thing for the business, we decided to go out. So COVID or not, that was the right timing for JFrog, and we are very excited about it.
Now, we all hate when we have to update an app or an operating system, or we're trying to do our work and we say it's, you know, we're told by our computer that we need an update or it's not going to work as well as it should. Talk to us about what DevOps actually means. It's, you know, obviously developers know what that is, but for the rest of us, what is it about your technology that's having such an impact on our lives?
Well, JFrog served happily over 6,000 customers over the world. The top 10 on every vertical is already powered by JFrog. I think that you are already familiar, and you heard it once or twice, that software is eating the world and every company is a software company. I claim that every company is a DevOps company. It's not a question of if, it's more a question of when, because the competitive advantage of every organization today is how fast they can engage with their customers. And DevOps help you to build faster, more secure, and release software rapidly, so you can actually have software update happening on the edge several times a day. This is our mission, and this is what we call liquid software as a vision. Software should just run like water through pipes.
Liquid software, that's a new one. I hadn't heard. I'll remember that. JFrog co-founder and CEO Shlomi Ben-Haim, thank you so much for joining us. All right, still ahead, ServiceNow CEO Bill McDermott on the company's focus on AI and automation. His site, Insight, as one of the leading tech execs in Silicon Valley next. This is Bloomberg.
Has to be 100% as far as national security is concerned. And no, I'm not prepared to sign off on anything. I have to see the deal. We need security, especially after what we've seen with respect to China and what's going on. We want security. So I'll let you know. They're going to be reporting to me tomorrow morning, and I will let you know.
President Trump saying there he'll be briefed on Oracle's proposal to take a stake in TikTok and serve as TikTok US's quote-unquote trusted technology partner. Tomorrow morning, of course, we'll be following any developments out of that. Meantime, despite today being a down day for tech, it is, of course, one sector that's been massively outperforming during the ongoing pandemic. And ServiceNow is a company that is seeing that rise, up 90% since March, now offering new capabilities and tools to help businesses and employees continue to work from home. With us now on the phone, President and CEO of ServiceNow, Bill McDermott. So, Bill, ServiceNow, one of a number of tech companies that have been helping to smooth the transition to remote work. And now that looks like we're going to be in this for a while. What is it about ServiceNow's suite of products that you think have been so essential to workers and companies during this time?
Well, Emily, as you know, return to work is kind of an interesting phrase because it depends on what industry you're in and what kind of company you are. But as best I can tell, about 1/3 of the employees will continue to work from home. 1/3 will be from home and on the road. And obviously, based on industry, some people just have to go into the office. So it'll be a hybrid world. And what we did is we invented a suite of applications that we now scaled globally to return people safely to work or to enable them to work remotely. And that's been a global sensation for us. So, for example, many companies now want to return or have the option to return. So we understand if people are ready to come back, everything has to be testing in place for all the locations. The configuration has to be proper for social distancing and hygiene. And obviously, PPE inventory management and so forth has to be all done through a workflow. So the experience for the employees is exceptional. And that's what we do. And companies like Uber know that, and they've gone live with our solution in less than 2 weeks. So it's been a sensation.
Meantime, tech has been on this incredible rise through the pandemic. We saw a sharp drop-off, for example, in the NASDAQ before March, this huge uplift until a couple of weeks ago when we saw another drop-off, some volatility over the last couple of days and weeks. What is your outlook for tech and especially big tech equities over the next 6 months, given continued uncertainty ahead?
It's very positive because digital transformation is the opportunity of this generation. $7.4 trillion will be invested in digital transformation in the next 3 years. So the companies that have the capability to help companies digitally transform, especially if they're native cloud companies like ServiceNow, will do extremely well. 9 out of 10 CEOs say they have to digitize. They know that their companies are being disrupted through digital companies that are outflanking them, yet only 4 out of 10 feel they're in a position to properly compete against digital disruption. So we feel our company, as well as many others in the Valley, are very well positioned to sustain growth. That's not to say there won't be volatility in the markets. Of course, you're right to point that out, but in the long run, there's no question tech's where it's at.
You pledged in April that ServiceNow wasn't going to lay off a single employee during the pandemic and only to hire. Has that been the case? And will that be the case given that this is going to go on for quite a while?
Yes, it certainly is the case, Emily. Since the pandemic began, we've hired more than 2,000 people into ServiceNow. And we also kept our promise to all the college graduates that wanted internships with our company. This year, we had a record-setting number of them, more than 360, and growing, are participating in our internship programs, seeking employment with ServiceNow, which we'd love to have them, or, of course, somewhere in the ecosystem of ServiceNow. So we kept the promise, and we're accelerating hiring to keep up with our outstanding growth rate.
Meantime, I want to talk about the trends shaping the future. We've got about a minute left, Bill. I spoke with Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, yesterday. He said he thinks AI is going to be as transformative as electricity. Would you agree?
I agree totally. I believe we're in a world where everybody wants the autonomous enterprise, where you can literally run your business process without actually having humans do clerical things. Machine learning and AI make operations so much better. And with workflow and the workflow revolution that ServiceNow is leading, self-help decision-making through AI will be so good. And then ultimately, the clerical stuff can be put to the side and humans can focus on the things that really matter. 100% in agreement.
All right. Bill McDermott, CEO of ServiceNow, thank you so much for that outlook. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. As we've been speaking, the president has been continuing to speak at the White House. Again, he said he will be briefed on the TikTok deal tomorrow morning. We're going to, of course, be following that. He's not prepared to sign off on anything at this point. You can check out the president's speech happening right now on the Bloomberg terminal. Just go to Live Go. That does it for this edition of Bloomberg Technology. I'm Emily Chang. Bloomberg Daybreak Australia is next. This is Bloomberg.